Welcome all to Bullshit and Bourbon Special Edition. Being the holidays, we got some new faces. We have Taylor and Jeff had to go to give each other reach arounds at a holiday party or something like that. So they are out of the loop for right now. But we have Tatum, aka Big Head, Gary's son, baseball phenom, and all around good kid. I shouldn't say kid; he's an adult now. I know him as a kid. We got Nick Diamond Nuts DeMonte bringing the brutal honesty. We got Gary in the background and the Druth once he gets dialed in. How's everybody doing? How you doing, Nick?
You go first.
Can you hear me, Nick?
We miss Gary. Oh, I'm great. I'm beyond great. I'm here in North Carolina visiting family, with my family. Had my father-in-law smoked a turkey all day long, so I'm loving life right now. I'm in a great spot.
Nice. How you doing, Gary? What's up? What's new with you?
Hey everybody, just doing the holiday stuff and shopping. Actually, I'm not shopping. I'm just going online to buy stuff. Now,
Big Head, how's the baseball going?
It's going. Same as usual. Just same thing.
Drew, you on? All right, we'll loop back to Drew. All right, so tonight the topic of discussion is the upcoming administration and what's going on currently and what we hope happens, once they actually take control. Those of you that haven't been paying attention, I get it. There's a lot that that's going on right now with UFOs and whatnot, but what we have going on is we had an omnibus bill that was trying to get rifled through before the holidays, which was full of pork. It was full of pay raises for congressmen and senators. There was rumors that it had verbiage in it that stripped us Americans of certain rights, where government can censor us, things like that. I mean, the list goes on. Elon and Vivek took to the interwebs and started chatting it up and causing a stink, and basically took the bill from 1,500 pages down to maybe a couple of hundred, and eliminated a lot of pork and a lot of just bullshit that they were trying to rifle through this thing, and which to me is a good thing. I mean, it shows that they haven't even taken control yet, and they already have that kind of influence. A lot of people are raising a stink online about it. Saying everybody's starting to talk about Elon being president, and that Trump is his bitch and shit like that. Nick, I know you pay attention. What do you have to say on the topic?
I mean, it was a nice little trial run, and really it was a shot across the bow from Elon and Vivek saying, the sheriff's in town, right? So, and he was really, so this is classic aggressive managing, where you test and then you see how the enemy reacts. So this was just the first little run through, and they freaked out. So now Elon kind of knows the general playbook that they're going to run. He's probably going to try this again in the short term before January. And overall, I mean, first of all, it was fun to watch. And it was interesting to see kind of who sidled up. And, it was interesting to see kind of the Republican side fall apart or circle the wagons. Like, Nancy Mason, Thomas Massie, they voted against it, but then they explained why they voted against it. And Mike Johnson continued to show that he's this quivering sack of jello. So Elon figured out really quickly who his friends and especially who his enemies are. So it was very entertaining to watch.
And that's kind of what I took from it too. Is it was very telling to see how everyone reacted, because I really do feel like that. I mean, in Trump's first, the first time he won, and he talked about draining the swamp and stuff like that. I honestly don't feel like he was ready for the red tape and the bureaucracy that was in DC. He's used to business, but I don't think he's used to lobbyists and special interests and just the games, the chess games that are played in DC, and how deep rooted all of that is. I know that I have heard stories of when he was trying to pick the hundreds, if not thousands, of people in his cabinet and in key positions, he was being told who to pick, and he just kind of went with what he was told. And we all kind of know how that turned out. I mean, that's kind of why, it seemed like every other week or, every other day, he was getting rid of one person, for one reason or another, just because they weren't doing the job that he wanted them to do. And I think this time around, he learned his lesson, because he's selecting subject matter experts. Drew, or if Drew was here, he would know. Nick, you probably know the guy from the All In podcast, David something, that the crypto, David Sachs. Thank you. The crypto and AI czar. I found it interesting that it wasn't like a technology czar, that it was specifically crypto and AI. I found that really interesting.
Yeah, it's there's kind of a running meme here that the PayPal mafia is taking over Washington, which you got Elon, you got David Sachs, you got a couple of you, you got Vivek. I'm sure Chamath Palihapitiya is going to find his way in there. What's his face from not from PayPal? Peter Thiel had outsized influence on the election. So we've got a lot of technologists in government now. David Sachs being probably the most prominent one, but David Sachs is no slouch when it comes to the international side of things. Like, he became well known for having very detailed and nuanced comprehension of the geopolitical landscape. And tell me if you're getting background noise of the geopolitical landscape. And so Trump knows, and his team knows, that AI is essentially the guise for the next chip struggle, the struggle over silicon. And so that is a geopolitical struggle, 100%.
Well,
because it is,
I mean, that's why DPIN. Well, that's why DPIN has been pumping so much. Is because of exactly what you just said.
Yeah, so it's and going back to his previous cabinet with his previous administration, I didn't have his first go around administration pulled up, but I will in a minute. But he essentially admitted to it before the election that his first cabinet, he had Reince Priebus in as like one of his people who was helping him pick, and so he inadvertently had a swamp monster picking his cabinet. And lo and behold, you end up getting a bunch of sycophants and morons in there who, and a bunch of never Trumpers. And he completely underestimated the intelligence apparatus and just how influential they were in everyday lawmaking. But now he understands that. And he understands that because he put Kash Patel in such a significant position.
No, absolutely. Hey, Drew. I mean, if you just want to turn on your sound while you're trying to figure out the camera, that's all good.
Yeah, I'm fighting back against it here. I don't know if you guys can hear me or not here, but wait a minute.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's pretty much a lot of what Nick just said is my worry about if we actually can get anything done. It's obviously like I'm more hopeful about Ron Paul. Just calling out congressional ability to end the Fed. I know it's a little sticky situation, but I don't know. It's a long shot, but in my opinion, it's unconstitutional. We have Ron Paul's voice finally getting a little bit further. Kash Patel's a very, very interesting individual to, maybe be the war horse we need. But I've heard this time and time and again, and I don't want to get too excited about seeing the whole system gutted because it's so entrenched on what it is. But this is a season of hope that I'm here for. I'm going to be cautiously optimistic.
I feel you there. I'm one of those. Don't tell me, show me. And and the reason. And Big Head, I want you to chime in. I want to hear what the head, the big brain that you got in that big head. I want to, but the thing that bothers me about business as usual in government is we the people they tax the fuck out of us. I mean, I have it pulled up here. We pay 30% in federal income tax, roughly on average. You pay 10% in most states for income tax, another 7%, again, roughly, in sales tax, 8% if you own a home or, in property tax. So roughly you're paying 55% of all that you earn back to the government. We are over 34 trillion, last I checked, in debt, not to mention unfunded liabilities. We have a Pentagon that has failed 8 audits in a row and nothing has come of it. Nobody has, dug in and found out what's going on, where's the money going. You have Ron and Rand Paul that for years they've filibustered and they go through and just name all the ridiculous shit that the government, giving cocaine to puppies and shit to find out, how it affects, their brain or whatever. You have tax dollars going to ridiculous things. And, then you got Democrats that can't give enough stuff away. Tell me, Big Head, like how rooted are you in politics? Being a young man like you are. How old are you, like right now?
Right, I'm 19.
All right. So being 19 years old and you are just starting college, correct?
Mm-hmm. I'll be graduating my 2 year in May.
Okay, cool. So what is your opinion because I'm an old bastard that lives in the woods. Your dad, he's in the military and he's doing his thing. You got both Drew and Nick, that are crypto guys, and they're civilians looking kind of what it is that the government's doing, kind of from the outside looking in. You're the only young guy in the group. What is your opinion on what's going on in the state of things from your viewpoint, your peers? Kind of your whole life ahead of you?
Well, pricing is definitely the biggest thing that's kind of messing up this new future of like me becoming an adult, because it's getting harder to pay for things, especially just barely getting into the adulthood. So it's just gonna suck until we hopefully figure something out. But yeah.
So do you and your peers? Do you even like talk about interest rates? Do you worry about? Does even part of your thought process of how am I going to buy a home? Or are you just thinking more like how many roommates do I have to have in this 2-bedroom apartment to afford it, and how am I going to buy mac and cheese? I really want to understand kind of the younger generation and what you're struggling with, because it's very different than what a lot of us that are on here are dealing with. I really want to understand where all of you are coming from. Are you just looking day to day on keeping food in your stomach and a roof over your head, or are you actually thinking ahead and thinking about, I want to buy a house, I want to start a family, things like that?
I could definitely tell you, at least most of us are just trying to go day to day, just figure it out and keep a roof over the head. But like I said, it's getting expensive. From, if you look back 20 some odd years ago, it was definitely not this high. But yeah, I feel like, especially me, because I'll be graduating soon, figuring out what I want to do after that. But if I decide to go live on my own, then that's going to suck, because I'm mainly going to be like, how many roommates can I have? It's like you said, Just like, how many should I have
Gonna,
to
gonna
live?
build like bunk beds that look like you're in a nuclear sub where you got like four high and a 6 foot ceiling. You just got to like sandwich yourself in there,
Yeah.
and you have like
Yeah.
12 roommates.
So that's
Yeah,
what
be like,
that's
all
what
right.
Jackson's currently doing right now is they're looking at 800 to 850 a person for a 5-bedroom house.
850
Or-
for one room.
or per rooms.
All
whatever.
the other rooms are different prices. Ours is only higher because it's got the laundry system in it.
Yeah. So anyway,
Well,
per
Utah's
person is like $800
ridiculous.
per
Well,
person.
Utah's ridiculous. In 2010, I built a house for $274,000. It was just shy of 5,000 square feet. I just
And
looked
it
the
was
other
bigger
day;
than
it's
my
almost
house.
$1 million, and then you tack on the interest rate. I had like, I think it was right around 3%. But I mean, interest rates now, I don't know how people are affording it. But let's get back on topic. Drew,
Yeah.
tell what are your thoughts on
Thank you.
on DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, and the Paul, Daddy Paul and Baby Paul, and
100%.
just Vivek and all of them. What have you seen, and what do you think is on the horizon and will be the first order of business?
Well, I don't know. Try to share my screen. I don't know if you could share my screen. I just shared it. I think,
Yeah. Let me put it on presentation.
yeah, I think we're in for a shit show, honestly. And I've been
Talk
talking
us
about
through
this
it.
for a year. So what this is the kind of 1970s to 1980s stagflationary pattern. What you see is the 1974 to 1982 statistics for CPI data. And at the peak, at the top of that red arrow is essentially historically where we saw those mortgage rates hit 15 to 18%. The average house was $50,000. Now the average house is $450,000. Even if Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk and all of those dream team do everything that they're promising to do, I don't think that there is a way to stop this mountain from growing again. And what we're looking at, if we do repeat this pattern and climb that hill once again at the current average cost of a home, that is literally a nail in the coffin for the middle and lower class buying homes. This is why I am so aggressive about my investments into idiotic internet magical money, because I have to
Me and you both,
outpace.
brother. Me and you
Yeah.
both.
And this is the situation we're looking at, and it's been following the same pattern. You see this little dip that's circled right here. This is the moment in season where Jerome Powell can do a couple Fed cut rates and act like, oh, everything's fine, we got inflation under control. And then they're going to hand Trump a burning pile of manure, basically on this plateau right after the historical time frame. This is honestly just repeating itself. So honestly, I don't think that there's a way to stop this from coming. What my plan is to hammer into crypto, obviously, like I've been doing, but then take as much capital as I can out of the market in 2025, right around the summer to end of 25, and buy up real estate, as much cash purchase of real estate as I can, and then set about $100,000 aside for, if I hope that I can get a Bitcoin in 2026, 27 for
Buy
100K.
back in the bear.
Right. So set
Yeah.
100 aside, but literally everything else is going towards more real estate. So that is in essence the situation, in my opinion, that and I've been talking about this since like the middle of 23 when we started following
No,
this
dude,
hill
you've
down.
had laser focus. Like ever since I started listening to you and Nick, back in the day when Hannah was on and all that. I mean, it was, and Biscuit Jesus, back in the day.
And it's all
You've been saying the same thing: is you want to make money, you want to buy some real estate, and set yourself up.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what I did last cycle, and this cycle I feel is no different. Yeah, the fixes that Elon Musk and the current administration are doing are probably going to have an effect, but I think that they're going to be felt, honestly, probably at the historical peak of where you see this. Historically, it was at about 1980. This time frame, it comes in right at about 2028. So let them do their thing. All the policy changes come in. They start to actually fix the deficit. And then you see those things actually start to turn around. But I am unfortunately feeling like we are in for this kind of repeat historically. So yeah.
And I would tend to agree. I mean, anyone, feel free to chime in, but I feel like the can has been kicked down the road for so long, and COVID, and yes, Trump was president at the time, but COVID was, with the printing, was a accelerant. I mean, it was like there's a fire. It was like dumping gas on the printing of money, and everything, the underlying issues with debt and deflate and inflation and all of these things. I really feel like that there is going to come a time where, if Elon and this Department of Government Efficiency, if they aren't able to accomplish what they know needs to be accomplished, and what anybody that understands economics, and I'm not an expert, but basic math understands, is that there's either going to be some pain now or a lot of pain later.
Yeah.
Because the longer we kick this can down the road, the bigger the pill gets that we're going to need to swallow.
Pretty
Nick?
much.
So I've got something for you. So
wait, Gary.
With the interest rates increasing, the direction we're going, looking back to the 80s, etc., 70s to 80s, and it's increasing to the 15%. I don't think that's going to happen, and I don't think it's going to change due to all these investors seeing the problem, and their fix is the mass housing, the apartments, condos, townhomes, like trying to build vertical instead of horizontal. That is going to affect our interest rates tremendously, because it's going to be super hard to get a house because their houses are limited, but it's going to be super easy to get an apartment, condo, or townhome.
I very much agree with that. I used to hire for that sector in commercial real estate, the mixed use type 3A segment. Got, tens of billions of dollars in government subsidies to build mixed use type 3A buildings. And they basically just put a bank, a place you can eat, and that's all on the bottom floor. And then they can stack people one on top of each other.
That got big in Utah right before I left.
Very much so.
Where they basically zero carbon or low carbon, where everything you need is within walking distance kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the carbon footprint.
5/1.
Yep.
5/1 is the type of building.
And you said something pretty important when we were talking veteran crypto. It's, you highlighted the unrealized, the losses, right? And like the reason for printing. This is such a nefarious statistic to pay attention to. If you see
overlooked.
Yeah, I mean, in the 2008 housing crisis, the unrealized losses available for sale securities and held to maturity on the bank side, it hit just under $100 billion, right? And then you had this massive bubble burst. But then you look in 2019, a few months before 2019 was complete, the banks were underwater even worse. There was already a reason to print half of all currency in circulation before the flu season even kicked into gear. And then they had the excuse to print these big pops where they get into the positive by 125 billion. But this, in my opinion, is a overcorrecting, oscillating signal. This is wavelengths that are getting deeper and more aggressive each time. If you notice the securities gains and losses, and this is over the course of 20 years of general fiscal policy that plays into banks. Now you can see the current situation. I mean, yeah, it's on the upswing. We're only $320 billion underwater, but this is an overcorrecting kind of wavelength for me, just from a chart perspective. So these types of things are very much so worth paying attention to, I'd say. It seems like we're overcorrecting. Yeah, I think Vivek is going to, and Elon Musk are going to, be able to put some in action and get the Department of Government Efficiency to cut its spending. But really, how many of these deep swamp monsters are we really going to be able to root out in a diplomatic manner? That's the honest question that we have to ask ourselves.
All right, so let me.
Oh,
Drew,
yeah,
I
go
can't
ahead, Nick.
see you. I can't see you, but I feel you, bro. Let me present the slightly contrarian bull case for this. Um, let's start with. I think we're all doing this calculus based on the current state of the economy, and Trump and especially JD Vance and Elon know that the board has to get reshuffled if we're going to get out of this. So we can't be
Oh, yeah,
playing.
no, there needs to be a huge disruption.
So I mean, they're talking about, tongue in cheek, but maybe kind of sort of could happen, annexing Greenland and some of Canada and the Panama Canal. All of these are like gigantic.
And Mexico, a soft invasion of
And
Mexico. Yeah.
And you know what? Let's just go ahead and annex like the rest of Latin America anyway. So they're talking about making really, really dramatic changes to the entire game board. Okay, like we're not playing checkers anymore. We're not playing chess. We're playing Go. This is about the acquisition. It's essentially conquest. It's about the acquisition
risk.
of territory. So they realize that they have to change the game board if we're going to get out of this mess. The strategic Bitcoin reserve is part of that. Just the en masse aggressive economic policy that Trump is talking about as part of that. But also there's the loosening and culling of the controls that the deep state and the administrative state actually has on innovation. If we can open up, it only takes a couple poison pills that you force down the throat of the administrative state to really cut them off at the balls and make their ability to impede progress extremely, extremely difficult. Now, one little simple thing is what, like when Vivek was talking about, we're going to take every single government agency and move them outside of the Beltway. We're going to spread them all across the United States. Well, what you've done there is you have obliterated the echo chamber and the incestuous nature of lobbying. So that is going to have knock-on effects for 100 years in the federal government. That alone. Now you go ahead and if they could do something like eliminating the Department of Education, I mean, that is one of the biggest grifts on the planet, and the Department of Education uses its
since
funds
its founding,
as a way
we have dropped from like one of the top, top in education, I think to like 40 something in the world. I mean, it's disgusting, and pretty much, I want to turn it back to you, Nick, but pretty much anything and everything that we could talk about as far as government and what government runs, I would dare anybody to give me an example of something the government runs well.
War, and that's about it.
Intelligence operations.
Yeah. So again, if we can continue to rewrite the rule book on what the economy actually is, then I think we actually stand a fighting chance. When it comes to interest rates, we can talk about them going up to 10, 12, 15%. No other economy in the world can sustain us increasing interest rates again. We will bankrupt the entire world. And maybe we want to, because
the question is, do we care, right? Do we really care?
If everyone else is bankrupt, then the dollar is safe again and
Right.
everything's fine. And all of this debt that you were showing on screen doesn't really matter anymore because everyone else is broke. So I don't know. Are we gonna be that aggressive? Maybe. Cool. Finally, I would say like my last little like tag is like, and the thing that everyone knows by watching your show is you need to be positioned to be in the parallel economy. There will be multiple parallel economies. There will be multiple, like 4 or 5 economies running in parallel. If you are just stuck as a W-2 wage earner and that is your sole source of income and that's all you're doing and you're just hoping that putting your money in a savings
You're going to be a
account
slave forever.
You're dead. You're dead in the water.
Let's be like getting a vending machine.
Yeah, no, you are a debt slave for the rest of your life. As long as you are working for a paycheck, I don't care if it's salary or an hourly wage, you are going to be a slave for life until you are able to find a way to unshackle yourself and invest, and, scrimp and save and figure out a way to invest money in real estate, crypto, whatever, hookers and blow. I don't know, whatever, to where you can. I mean, Gary's like my retirement plan, but it's just make enough money to where you can be self-sovereign. Drew says it all the time, and honestly, it's the best way of stating it. Is that's why homesteaders do what they do. Is they want to separate themselves from the system. They want to grow their own food. They want to own their own property. They want to source things locally to where they're not dependent on supply chains. And the reason is we see the writing. We see that as long as you're dependent on the system, the system is flawed, and you are at risk of allowing your family to be affected. Just like with COVID, when people were fist fighting for toilet paper. It's if you are dependent on the system, and this is what annoys me about, and I'll turn it back to you guys. This is what annoys me about most of the people that I see on the interwebs, on social media, going back and forth, is they're fighting, the left and the right, Democrat, Republican, and they don't see that it's all the same. That it's those that are in power and those that want to stay in power, and those that they leech off of, which is us. And people don't see that as long as they are taking from that system, through welfare, public assistance, student loan forgiveness, whatever it is, as long as you rely on them, they own you. Who wants to jump in?
I mean, it's a lot of responsibility to take on for yourself, and it's kind of it's a collapse now and beat the rush kind of mentality. But honestly, it takes a lot of worry out of if things do collapse, and you've done what you can. And then, when things do monetarily have a big shakeup like COVID did, I was able to send all of it into internet funny money instead of worrying about toilet paper or bullets or armor or any of the things. Because honestly, these things cost quite a bit of money if you don't have any of them. And all of a sudden, holy shit, I need night vision and armor and trip wires.
Drew went straight for night vision. It wasn't even like food, water. It was like, fuck, I need night vision.
Yeah. I mean, that costs money, so if you're not slowly accumulating those things, I mean, honestly, it's a sticker shock. And I know a lot of people that rush to the store to buy those things instead of having the money to invest in crypto or real estate. And honestly, either option was incredible. I did both, and it changed my life, so we do have kind of an interesting time frame with Trump coming into office. And, obviously I'm really, interested to hear about the Epstein list. I'm interested to hear if we can get all of those celebrities named and break the facade that people are under of these idols that they have. Was that? Oh, and politicians, yeah. Of course. But, I think the celebrities are really going to hit society hard.
Oh, dude, you can see them scrambling like cockroaches right now, talking about leaving the country. Some of them have. Mm-hmm. I mean, I kind of wonder if if there's a big shakeup coming in January. Mm-hmm. From a macro standpoint, I mean, the ripple effects. Who knows what that's gonna have? Because I mean, if Epstein, and all of that, comes to light, if they flip on the lights in that cockroach filled room, you got Diddy parties, mm-hmm. and the people that were involved in, all that. I mean, there's a lot of things where, kind of, the spotlights being turned on, and there's some people that I think are very, very nervous.
Yeah, it's going to be painful for people to realize who was on that island, or who was, helping people ingest drugs and be raped at Diddy parties. That's going to be a difficult pill to swallow, but it's necessary for the country to heal and to get away from the mechanisms of control that we've been under, honestly. And, I mean, clearly my aim is at highlighting the unconstitutionality of the Federal Reserve in and of itself. They put it into place in the middle of the night between 3 congressional members. It was not constitutionally set up the correct way, and it's had a death grip on our government and how they can operate for over 110 years now. So, this is a serious situation. Just because it's been that way doesn't mean it has to continue being that way. And
Drew, you're really knowledgeable on that topic. Could you just really quick peel back a layer on that? Because honestly, I feel like that it's at the root of a lot of the issues. Because we're talking about government efficiency, we're talking about budgets, we're talking about the printing of money,
mhm.
and honestly, the Fed is at the root of all of that. If you could peel back a layer or two, and people that are listening,
Yeah.
maybe explain to them, how the Fed affects all of these things like tentacles on an octopus.
Absolutely. So essentially, what we had was a economic crisis in America in 1895, and we had a wonderful individual here. I'll share my screen. Here we go. Starting screen share. So this individual, many people know, it's a bank nowadays. His name is J.P. Morgan, and he was at the kind of forefront of public dismay when it came to the financial crisis of 1895. And essentially at the time frame, JP Morgan made up around 40% of all circulating currency anyways. But there was a problem with having a physical person being kind of the focal point of people's anger when it came to a financial crisis or the mismanagement of the American dollar in and of itself. So over the course, I mean, obviously everyone knows the chaos of maybe not everyone knows. So on the Titanic, there were people that did not agree with the formation of the Federal Reserve. And they made their trip. JP Morgan was supposed to be on the Titanic, had to cancel last minute. Then the Titanic went down, right? So you can, who knows if that was a coincidence or not.
Put on your tinfoil hat. It
Right.
could or could not have been a conspiracy, but Drew's right. I've looked into it, and there was quite a few people, like a list of people that basically allowed, like, if those people would have not been on that boat, the Fed would not, probably would not have been created.
Yeah.
I'll put it that way.
Well, and it's interesting. God, it gets even worse. Oh man. Okay, so I'll point people to this video.
Peel back another layer, man. We got time.
Because on my YouTube, I did a video of this deep dive where we looked into essentially, all of the names of people that were, heavily against the creation of the Federal Reserve and where they were positioned in terms of, being on the Titanic at the time. Now, there's a lot to go into here, but right after the Titanic went down, 1913, the Jekyll Island meeting in southeastern Georgia went down, and the decision to put forward the Federal Reserve was laid on the table. Then 3 Congress members met, I believe it was a holiday night, in the middle of the night, and approved the formation of the Federal Reserve. Ever since then, it's a private entity. Oh, was that?
Against the Constitution, might I add?
Yeah, against the Constitution. It was not set up, in the correct way of how things should be approved. There was only 3 members present. It was done in the middle of the night. It was one of the most cataclysmic decisions financially that this country's ever made, if not the most important decision we've ever made. And so now we fast forward, 110 years. This organization, which is officially labeled private, but also Federal Reserve, is in control of the monetary flow. And at large, we are still by far the largest economic engine on the planet. So if you extrapolate that out to the rest of the world, this organization has been pulling the strings for the financial movements of the entire planet.
Without talking to the Congress or going through the executive, I mean,
Right.
they make carte blanche. They make, if I hope I'm saying that right, basically make decisions outside of the way that our government is supposed to work.
Yeah, it's something else. I guess I'll just share it because I give all the names in this video here. It's the JP Morgan Titanic. Maybe I'll just like put it in the chat. But this is the deep dive on all of the names that were powerful enough to stand up against J.P. Morgan and the formation of the Federal Reserve, but they did meet their demise. Interesting to note that the recent Titanic exploration
Is a Bitcoin.
what was it? It was like the submersible that got squished, right? One
Yeah,
of the
guy that was using the Xbox controller to freaking
yeah.
guide his sub.
Oh yeah, here's the guys too. What was it? What was their names? We can get all the names right here. JP Morgan, most of yada yada yada.
We need
I
to get
go
back
through-
to doing the black side again.
I know. I got to get back to doing these. I need my gun wall back. I had to take it down.
Yes,
just
you
because-
do.
So Wendy Rush, that she was married to the dude who got squished in this Ocean Gate Titan mission, is a descendant of one of the most powerful people in America at the time that was on the Titanic that could have stopped the Federal Reserve from being put into place. So it's just such a interesting backstory to it. And people can argue till the sun goes down about, was it a setup, yada yada yada, but it happened that way. And you see,
Dude, if I had $1 for every conspiracy theory that's come true, though, I wouldn't need to invest in crypto.
yeah, it's such a fun. It's not a fun thing, but it's such a very interesting backstory.
I know what you mean. It's interesting. It's an interesting thread to pull.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, but essentially that's how it got formed, and I think the big part of it is that this was a monetary system that was already privatized through J.P. Morgan in 1895, anyways, and they just wanted a non-human target. They wanted to get J.P. Morgan himself out of the limelight and out of the blame.
What better way to control an economy than to have something like the Fed? If you're running a bank, have something like the Fed that you can pull the strings and, like you said, not be the face of it, but be in control of it.
Right. So, I mean, it was privatized to a large degree.
I'm not saying it was aliens, but it was aliens.
Hey, I'm really glad that stupid thing in the sky was not aliens either. It sounds like it was a satellite from SpaceX. So that's great. It wasn't Transformers.
You're talking about that Transformers looking thing when the multiple burning objects were like entering
either
the
it's
atmosphere?
Decepticons or Elon Musk. Basically,
I feel like we're not allowed to talk about aliens and extraterrestrial life unless Taylor's here.
My brother Taylor is an aficionado when it comes to Sasquatch and UFOs. Yes, we'll save that for another time.
Yes.
Yeah,
but
it's just so much to think about, though, man. You got my mind going 100 miles an hour. But basically, I just need Ron Paul to be loud.
Honestly, I really think that I talk about Tulsi Gabbard a lot and how the Democratic Party missed out on making her their candidate, because honestly, I would have voted for her even if she was a Democrat. But I really think America missed out back when Ron Paul ran, and he was almost totally ignored.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The guy, yes, he's not as well-rounded, but that's why you have a cabinet. That's why you have subject matter experts. Kind of like Trump is trying to do, to get back to the topic. Where you have successful business people that if they're not profitable, if their businesses aren't profitable, they go out of business. Our government has been run far too long by people that have the mindset of, if we're not profitable, it's okay. We can manipulate the dollar through the Fed. We can print money. We can raise taxes. There's all these levers we can pull to counteract our mistakes. And it's not the way that a government should be run. A government should be run like a business. If something isn't profitable, if something isn't showing, a positive, I'm at a loss for the right verbiage right now. But if it's not operating at a profit, basically, if it's not efficient enough to support itself, it should be gone. The post office is a good example. It's been operating at a loss since I don't know when. If it can't operate at a profit, it should be privatized. And it's something that Elon is talking about. There's NASA. We've been funding NASA forever. They've done some great things. However, SpaceX, in not even a decade, has launched us into a whole nother level. The government put hundreds of billions of dollars aside in funding to bring broadband internet to rural areas like where I live. Elon launched a couple of satellites into the atmosphere and into space, and now everyone in the world has broadband internet, not just rural Americans. It is everyone in the frick. You can be on a sailboat in the middle of the frickin' ocean and be doing what we're doing right now. You can be streaming Netflix, be on a podcast, and be buying something off Amazon. It is insane what the guy has accomplished. And crazy to me that he went from the darling of the left to now he's the demon of the left, just because he's aligned himself with what they see as the right.
So what the hell's with these drones, guys? This is in Atlanta tonight. This just came out.
I know. Is it really just people not understanding how airplanes queue for the runway? Is that really what all this boils down to?
I mean, I was hoping it
planes on
was.
approach. It looks like planes on final approach. They have FAA, nav lights with the red and the green and the white strobes.
Yeah.
To me, that's what it looks like.
To me, I understood that people in New Jersey are just like chimping out and being stupid. That is on brand for New Jersey. Okay. You got a bunch of Coney Island dweebs down there, like, oh my God, good, look at the drone. But now in Atlanta, guys, we need to have an adult go down to Atlanta.
It's a new way to protest.
Guys, we need adults in Atlanta to get night vision cameras and look at these objects and say, yes, these are just planes. If they're in line with the runways with Hartsfield, I swear to God,
they're not going to move. If they're on final approach and you are, somewhat in line with the direction of travel, they're going to be stationary. That's just it's simple shit. I don't know.
Unless the beam of light comes down and starts picking up Atlanteans, then I don't care.
Yes. No. If that, or if like aliens actually like show up on like the White House lawn or something like that in what was that comedy where the aliens showed up and were like killing everybody?
Mars Attacks.
Mars Attacks.
One of the best movies of our generation, Mars Attacks.
Yeah, it's a must.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Is it though?
But I let's go around the horn real quick, and let's start with the youth in the group. So Big Head, Tatum, from your kind of focus, your bandwidth of where you're at in life, which is very different than mine. What do you see coming with the Trump administration, coming into power? And kind of the stuff that we've been talking about, the state of government and the way that the government spends tax dollars, that sort of thing. What do you see as the future for America? With the wars going on, just fast forward 10, 20 years, where do you see America in your mind?
Probably say I'd see it in a lower point of view than right now. Because now we're already going down and just but like it start to get better, and then after Trump in like 10, 12 years, it might go a little bit more.
Quick, can everybody mute their mic? We're getting a little bit of feedback. Thank you. Go ahead, Tatum. Sorry.
But yeah, after Trump, like it might get better because his first 4 years changed a lot for the country, but hopefully he brings more knowledge for these next 4 years to get us up and going again.
All right. Nick, thoughts?
Question was, where are we at in 25 years?
just yeah, what do you see happening during this next 4 years, and what do you where do you see us? Let's say eight. Because we don't know who's going to
Yeah.
be next, but if history is any indicator, it's probably going to be a Democrat president because usually it flip flops. So where do you see us at the end of 4 years, and where do you see us at the end of 8 years?
So I don't think the Democrats are going to be able to field a viable candidate for the next 20 years. There's too much ideological capture with the progressives to actually make a qualified candidate. Like, is Gavin Newsom your great hope for the entire Democrat Party? Please, please. So essentially, Trump is going to be handed their the Antifa progressive wing of the DNC is going to put a flaming poop bag on his front door around the end of 2026 in the form of some BLM era, mass riot in order to destabilize the country because it's going to be making too much progress. But from then on, we're going to have kind of like the emperor for all mankind in the form of J.D. Vance / Vivek Ramaswamy, who is going to, I believe, usher in a new golden age of the United States of America, the way it actually was supposed to be. They will continue to crush the intel apparatus underfoot and root out the deep state because they're meme lords, they're crypto degenerates, they're young, they're incredibly smart, and they know the game. Trump is paving the way for them, and it is going to be the Democrats still don't understand how they lost the election. I was talking to a guy today with some family, and he was saying that, well, the conservatives have been running the government for the past 50 years. And I was like, he honestly believed that. He honestly believed that. He goes, you guys don't have a solution for anything. And I'm like, you aren't taking responsibility for anything your party has done over the past 40 years. So that level of cognitive dissonance and reality distortion field being a mile deep as it is on the left is their Achilles heel. They were in the driver's seat for a long time. They tried to trans the kids, and the Latino said, this is weird, and it all fell apart.
Yeah. No, I would agree if the DNC doesn't wake up and realize that they've been hijacked and they're being drugged way too far left. And I think this last election should have shown them that. I mean, it was a resounding, we don't like the direction that we're currently going. I think no matter, all of the independents or those of us that are in the middle, and I consider myself in the middle, there's a lot of views that I have that are, used to be considered extremely left wing. It's, small government, big brother, listening, leave us the hell alone. Let us, live, live in peace kind of thing. Less war, all those things used to be Democrat policies. But, now they're considered, ultra right wing. If you don't want to be in the war in Ukraine, you're, a Putin puppet, all of those things. It's insane to me. It's like, yes, does that war need to end? Absolutely. But there was a lot of things that could have been avoided. There was many years, and I'll, summarize this. There was many years where Putin was saying, we stop militarizing the border. We don't want, American weapons on the border. That was the whole premise of, back when Reagan and Gorbachev brought down the wall they were going to demilitarize the border. And everyone kept, putting missiles and things like that on the border. Putin said, stop. I'm not saying that Putin's a great guy. He's a terrible dude. However, it's not like it came out of left field. You have to understand, you have to take emotion out of it and understand that all of these things are facts and figures. And if you take emotion out of it, and I'll kind of, in my part in this, we're kind of running out of time. I want to those that want to stick around, I kind of want to talk about crypto a little bit. But anybody that needs to duck out here in the next little bit, by all means. But you have to stay emotionally detached from everything, because if you are emotional about any of these things, you are easily manipulated. If you are emotional, I mean, it's basic psychology. If you are familiar with interrogation, if you're familiar with any sort of brainwashing techniques, anything like that. If anybody that's been in the military knows this, emotion is the root of that, because you get people thinking with one side of their brain and it overrides the logic centers. And so and it's what annoys me about the left is everything is emotional and it just screams manipulation. And that's why I have moved right. But Gary, go ahead and give us your closing thoughts. You haven't said a whole lot. Please go ahead and close us out before we move over to crypto.
I thought we were going youngest to oldest.
Well, you are an old bastard, but we're just going to go around the horn.
No, I don't have a whole lot of closing comments. I have a lot of opinions that I can share face to face, but I'm not going to do it here. I think so for the direction, 4 to 8, 10 years from now, I think Trump might finally have the chance to really kind of ruffle feathers and fuck up the system enough so to where the leaders, the world leaders, American leaders can go, oh my God, we have to pay attention to this, this, and this, and start fixing things. We needed him to do that the first term, but he was out to make a name for himself. I think in 4 years, interest rates will be low. Living will be it'll be affordable. It's still going to be on the rise, as I think Nick was saying, or not Nick, Druth.
Yeah,
he was saying it's still going to be on the rise, but it won't be crazy expensive as we saw the jump from COVID to now. That jump was just ridiculous. But once he's done with his term, I think it all depends. Depends on the advances. We might have a chance, but it all depends on who takes over next. We could see a complete tank again and see a recession. We're on the verge. So it all depends. All depends on the cabinet, Congress, and who's in charge and who's willing to bend, who's not. I know that you talk about crypto, you talk about my brother talks about a lot about gold and silver, and I want to be able to trade shots of silver for toilet paper and water, and I'm like, yeah, huh? All I got to do is be able to take it from you. He's like, well, how do you do that?
Well, the thing, and let me go ahead and let you finish, but I do want to address that because that's a popular mentality. But go ahead, finish.
It is. So I'm not overly concerned about crashing so hard that everybody has to grow their own food. We're back to trading, minerals, gold, silver, etc. I don't think that we will ever see that in our lifetime. Maybe.
You hope.
Maybe. But in the end, like, if I need gold and silver, and I'm more trained than you, and I don't have any gold and silver, it's only going to take me a matter of time to take you out and take your shit. I don't need to trade anything. I just need to be able to beat you. It's the old saying of, I don't have to outrun the bear. I only have to outrun you.
Well, but being a door kicker, I did a lot of door kicking, and you're going on, you're going into somebody else's home field advantage. It's, if you're going to try to take stuff from other people, that's a sketchy situation, especially if they're dug in.
I'm not talking about going into your house. I'm talking to my brother.
You got to go to senior citizens, man. You go to the nursing home, dude. That's where you
Well,
start. Come on, guys.
Even that though, man, like
Yeah.
a broken clock is right twice a day, boys. So even if you're going after someone
You
that
just show up during Jeopardy, sitting ducks, guys. Sitting ducks.
Dude, there's a reason why people hate
you guys are
campers.
talking Price is Right and the Showcase Showdown, where they give like the $1,
Oh man.
All right, Drew, give us the truth, and then if you and Nick are cool with it, I'd love to talk a little bit of crypto before we cut out.
Well, my main goal is to blow up and act like I don't know nobody. But
yeah, buddy.
Really, what I see is Ukraine shutting the Russian gas off, going to the EU. This is happening January 1st. Russia's going to be pissed about this. Don't know if this is going to actually go through. This is a big chunk of money for an already failing Russian economy and a fiat currency that is sliding off of the edge of a cliff. Trump's probably going to work out a negotiation pattern, something along the lines of this, though. I'm thinking that Trump's going to get Zelensky to get a little bit softer about this southeast portion, potentially. Hopefully that qualms the war just a little bit. But the real chaos I feel like is coming to America is in the likes of things like this, where we have New Yorkers about to light it up. And this is not a good pun to make right now, and I see Nick shaking his head. Don't you judge me, Nick.
You are judged.
Yeah.
And that is off base.
So New York was very, very liberal. I feel like seeing things like this happen on the trains in congruence with the coming deportation of millions of illegal immigrants is the mixings of chaos. I think that this will probably be the linchpin for a good civil unrest time frame when they actually do put forward these practices. You pair that with the Palestinian movement and the BLM movement, and you got a concoction for disaster. People are already pissed off about their buying power, yada, yada, yada. It's probably going to get a little bit sketchy there for a little bit during Trump's presidency. So, I'm always, there is not a day that I don't have an AR with me and a sidearm. There is not a day I go without having a gas mask and honestly a chemical nuclear biological radiation system in my minivan. I do not.
Oh, dude, I just have an N95 COVID mask.
That'll get you.
Everything.
That'll get you great. Yeah.
It's not going to work with that beard, man. You got to shave that beard. You know this.
That actually does work.
But yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic, but I am technically a civilian, but we were contracted by the police in the Summer of Love. They paid us really, really good money to secure the police department and the downtown district, and had a bunch of times where dudes wanted me to kill them or tried to stab me and stuff. And so it gave me a good time frame of sharpening my sword and understanding heart rates and things like that. And if you're not trained up, if you haven't been in the military or you haven't been a police officer, or you haven't had to make that decision, do I shoot this guy or not? Is it still okay to go hand to hand with him? If you have never gone through the time frame of being covered in sweat,
threat assessment with elevated adrenaline levels, and, needing to, knowing that you need to make a decision split second, it's a skill set.
It is
100%.
It's worth learning. I would say it's worth learning from now until.
It's a hard one to learn because it's not something that you can like practice.
Mm-hmm.
You have to really. The closest thing you can do is what we used to do in the military. It was called stress stress testing,
mm-hmm.
where basically they just fucking physically beat the shit out of you to where you're dragging 250-pound dummies and. You're engaging targets on a range and stuff like that. And, they're screaming at you and kicking dirt in your face while you're low crawling and just trying to, fuck with your head as much as possible to just, make it to where, it's like, now you need to make decisions. And, and some of the targets are friendlies and some of the targets are threats. And you got to decide while you're getting, screamed at and shit kicked in your face and you're dragging dummies and, doing all this stuff. And that's the closest that you're going to get to the real thing, until you're in the real thing.
I just think it's useful. It's useful even for civilians to put themselves
100%.
And it was an interesting situation when I had to, well, I honestly, I wanted to become a contractor, but I also had to because I got kicked out of a company I helped build. Um, and I had to provide for my family. So I took 3 contracting roles, and most of the companies are garbage. I found a few great companies with trainers that also trained FBI agents, and I was able to
Was it
get
Whack and
good.
Hut?
Yeah, I mean, it was a place where the pay wasn't great. I had to work 3 jobs, but the training was impeccable. I had Marines in there, like a great Marine sniper that was our jujitsu coach, and he would beat our ass and try to get our gun and see if we could protect our gun. And this guy was huge. It was a great training exercise. It didn't pay much, but I think it really helped me out. Then now, I'm in my podcast show day to day, but just I've made it a religion to work out daily, and keep
Oh,
my
you've been doing a
body.
great job.
I've been trying to just, I mean, Georgia's hard, man. They got good fried chicken at every gas station, and it's
Bro, I
difficult.
can't tell because I still can't see on video, so I can't tell. I
Yeah,
call bullshit.
yeah. I,
You gotta,
I,
you
I
gotta,
really,
you gotta watch Blockchain Basement. He's on there every day.
I'm trying to keep the waistline down. I'm trying to, but yeah, I mean, I'm just lucky enough to have a good gym, and uh, looking great is wonderful, but fighting great, even
Functional.
better.
No,
So
dude, I've always been about functional fitness. I don't care how I look. I care about how I function.
yeah, that's what you should be paying. Everyone wants to be like the cover of GNC Pro magazine. It's not the move. Honestly, some of the most dangerous people in the world are unassuming look, and don't underestimate people. That's also something that I've learned through my time frame.
I'm pointing at you, Tatum.
Yeah, don't underestimate old bald dudes, Tatum.
No, don't underestimate him. He's
Oh, gotcha.
he's smaller than me, but holy crap, that kid
But
is
he's
powerful.
fiery.
So I trained him. I taught him time under tension and the proper way to lift. He built for strength, not for size. And holy shit, that kid is powerful.
Dude, I'm telling you, I have never done anything other than like lower weight, high reps, and it's for speed, stamina, and power. It's like I do not care how I look. I don't want to be the biggest dude. It's all about function. I want to be faster, stronger, and more skilled than whoever it is I got to mix it up with.
It gives you a major advantage in the workforce too. I mean, not only
Yeah.
cognitively, staying wired and working out all the time, regenerating your cells at a faster pace than the average person, but like we're not up against a hard demographic of other people trying to get jobs right now. This country has become very squishy, and the competition is getting less and less as far as sharp men that can, or women, but just the sharp people that have respect for their body, that have internal discipline. And if you're able to institute those things, it's going to help greatly in a professional manner. I feel like as well. Kind of helps me stay focused too, get ready for podcasts or whatever. It's a busy life, and staying on top of it. I would sink if I didn't work out.
A good time for me to interject. Pleasure, Druth, Nick.
Yes.
It was an absolute pleasure. I gotta get out of here. But it was a pleasure talking with you guys. Mike, thanks for having us again.
I appreciate it, brother. Have a good one. Give my best to the wife and the family.
I will. Tatum, if you haven't seen the video, if you want to be successful, make your bed first in the morning.
Okay.
Well, hey, Drew. Actually, you know what? Let's let me go ahead and kick it to you. Let's just do a quick 5-10 minutes of crypto.
Okay. Yeah.
Just take care, brother. Take care, big head.
All right. Yeah, I mean, crypto's doing something. Honestly, we got a situation on our hands here.
And that's what I want to hear, because honestly, I know we're at a crux right now.
Yeah.
So you have tax. Let me kind of frame this real quick. You have the end of the year, so obviously people are trying to do a tax wash. They're trying to sell, show a loss, mitigate their tax burden, things like that. You have a new admin coming in that seems to be, as of right now, much more crypto friendly. David Sachs has been named the crypto and AI czar. They've been moving forward with a lot of really good, crypto, friendly regulation. They've talked about getting rid of Gary Gensler, who's been a blight on our industry. There's a lot of things that are potentially on the horizon. So, Drew, Nick, walk us through it while I refresh our drink.
Yeah, I mean, I'll kind of start with the weekly here. Not a great sign. Okay, so over multiple 4-year cycles, I've been able to kind of use this as a roadmap, just overall Fibonacci price expansion. And this is the second halving bull market, basically from $1,100 all the way, and then it broke beyond the top echelon of price expectation. But at large, the capturing of the all-time high, you range here, and then historically, it was a couple weeks you were able to break through the 1 to 1.618 Fibonacci and come back down. It just tested a little bit. If you see, I mean, we did come back down and test this, but the thing is, we tested it with a green candle and only came down by about 8%. And then it was off to the races from there. Fast forward to the next cycle. And this is the 2017 to 21 time frame. This is kind of funny to me that a lot of people were pissed that 100K didn't come because this thing, it performed perfectly to the, God, I didn't even show the right tab. This is the 2021. I'm sorry, shouldn't let me know, but this is the 2021 peak. And it came right to the halfway point of the top end of price expectation. Where we are right now in comparison of price and 4-year cycles time frame is right in this zone. And I'm showing you the history, like where it was. We only popped back down into the blue zone by about 3 or 4%. And this was our testing ground. So I see something different now. Then that's just from this weekly candle close, literally just now. We did not repeat historical norm. We did not break up into the next realm. We actually came back down. We're down into this realm. What's that?
Oh, I was just asking Nick to mute. I was getting a little bit of feedback.
Oh, yeah. We came back down by 8.5%. So, and this is with all of these macro bullish things going on. I forgot, I didn't have the screen shown earlier, but this is cycle after cycle. It's shown the same pattern until now. Like this is the second halving cycle, and we fell back down into this range by just about, right around 8%, right? So
aren't we at like 244 days, and like historically it's about 245 days or something like that?
Yeah,
like after the halving?
Let's go there. Because this is happening tomorrow.
Yeah.
Historically, when Bitcoin dominance should be coming on to its kind of conclusion for this cycle, at least. Now we'll condense this, get this out of the way.
And isn't that when dominance drops off? Like historically,
it is. So having events. I got to delete some. I'll delete this.
Real quick note before we get into this, Drew. It's interesting to see juxtaposition this movement of Bitcoin with the market cap of Tether. Tether just last week printed its all-time high of $139 billion.
Wow.
It's still going up. Now, there's been a little bit of a pullback, but it's still going up.
Okay. I like that.
That's a really good
note. Let's go here. All right, let's see here. Yeah, holy God. All-time high, $141 billion of Tether. Very, very good point. Maybe the whales are printing, getting ready to buy. I mean, currently we are kind of sliding down a cliff, but this is weird. Honestly, seeing a pullback like we're experiencing right now, this is what we're in right now. And historically, this zone is time frame wise and price wise.
Switch your tabs, Drew. Switch your tabs.
Oh yeah, good. Thank you. So historically, this time frame we're in right now.
And those that don't understand this, let me frame this for those that aren't like super crypto savvy. Tether being a stable coin is, Tether, USDT and USDC is the liquidity that basically fuels the crypto market. So those of us that aren't, I shouldn't say us, but those that aren't into crypto that might watch this, that's why this is so important, is that there is a lot of liquidity that's being injected into the market in preparation for what is probably going to be a big move in the crypto, overall market cap. Sorry, Drew, go
Absolutely.
ahead.
No, you're absolutely, that's a great context. And really, I'm just sitting here kind of tripping out myself. This candle just printed for the weekly. We closed well into the red. I mean, this is a thick red candle.
Big, girthy, thick.
We have not seen a thick red candle like this get back that deep into the blue zone ever in Bitcoin's history. So
Really?
no, this is a brand new design to the 4-year cycle. So, and not only this, we have this print.
And what is that? That's the 348.
This is the 1.618. So this
Oh,
is actually
1.618.
yeah,
Sorry,
this
it's a
is
little
just
too
getting
small.
started. No, it's okay. This is the 1.618. And, historically, it's funny when people complain about last market only, getting to 69K. That's right smack dab at the top end of this price performance point right there. And if
all
we
the data back then was staring us in the face and we refused to believe it.
absolutely,
What you're showing me, that red rubber band on the weekly
Expound on that,
just
Nick,
pulled
because
up.
it's important.
What's that?
I said, go ahead and expound on that because it's important.
Well, it goes to Drew. We were all kind of locked in on Plan B
hmm
and his stock to flow.
hmm
And there were certain influencers and just tryhards that refused to see all the rest of the data. And a couple people called the top. And we ignored the 4-year cycle, last cycle, and when Bitcoin should have, hit its peak, which it did. We didn't like it.
Yeah.
And so we refused to see the data. And now what you've shown me, Drew, is what that red weekly candle, to me, it looks like a very, very tight rubber band
Yes.
that has been pulled.
Absolutely. And really,
I like that analogy, Nick.
it's I mean, this is probably the best buying opportunity we're ever going to see this year. I mean, we may see a $90,000 Bitcoin in 2028. What I do expect is, in general, the market to we have all the bullish things to like go to $1 million this cycle, but I doubt it. Really, what I think is going to happen is some action about 3/4 of the way up, come back down here, more pain, it's over again, and then you cook up here, range a bunch, and then have just a short, brief time here. Now, the larger question and what's changed in my mind as far as what to expect is that the 4-year cycle usually rinses and repeats down to the previous market high. Usually you get the price right here. When we hit 69K, it flushes all the way back down. And this is what made it very easy for me to buy the bottom of Bitcoin in cycles past. Now I'm having to deal with the new monster in the room of BlackRock.
Institutional money and government.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's
No,
what's
it's changed the landscape for sure.
that's what makes me question if because a lot of logic would tell you that, oh, okay, we're gonna be like this, maybe a double top, and then we'll come back down here and just stair step all the way back down, maybe have a jackknife up and then end up here at the previous highs. But I don't know, man. I really feel like with those with the Bitcoin Reserve Act and BlackRock and all these institutions shilling it, we might only be able to get down to about the 100K level. I mean,
I am terrified. You are
Super
describing
cycle,
my
say
nightmare
it.
scenario, and I'm terrified of actually selling my Bitcoin this time around because
yeah,
I don't know if we're gonna break 100K. There's so much suction to the upside now. If they're buying 1 million Bitcoin next year, or even over the course of 2 years,
right.
I mean, I've been seeing some really great charts that say, bull runs start and stop in November and December.
Mhm.
Well, we're in the beginning of the third act of the bull run, which is November, December. And that would mean that we're going to top out around November, December of 25.
Right.
If the 4-year cycle holds up, I don't know what's going to hold up anymore, man. I've got my like ladder out. I'm looking at the pi cycle top indicator, which everyone ignored last time, right? And it called the top perfectly,
Mhm.
and it has every single time beforehand. So, but if it breaks, it breaks. I don't think it's going to break to the downside, though. I think it's going to break to the upside.
That's
It's
the
going to
problem.
go higher, and
You
we're
guys
going to
are
be
OGs.
leaving money
Like,
on the
I mean,
table.
I have never seen a bull market. This is my first bull market. I got in at the end of the last bull market. My first exposure to crypto was SHIB, and when everything crashed. Well, and I'll be honest, Coinbase fucking bent me over like I was in prison because they went down like right when I was trying to sell, and I was like 8x up. I was trying to sell, and by the time they came back up, I was lucky to get out with what I had initially got in. But that being said, it made me curious, and so for this bear market, I've been doing nothing but buying, just and learning. 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. I've been educating myself on crypto, and and honestly, I couldn't be more bullish. But looking at it, I came in at a very important time, I think, in crypto, where it went from speculative to utility, where before it was like everything that crypto could be. It was the game theory of Bitcoin. It was the game theory of crypto. It was everybody promising what they were building and the use cases that they were going to the pain points they were going to address.
Mhm.
But we've gotten to a point where projects like DAG that are gaining traction with the Department of Defense. You have XRP that people fudded for forever, and it's really taken a leap. And I sold all my XRP. I was in profit, but not the profit it is now. But I bought Ondo and Arrow because I see DeFi as being a huge play going forward, especially with this, back to the original point of this podcast, with this incoming administration, because the U.S. economy drives the world economy, like it or not. That the regulation that's coming, and DeFi, in the part that is going to play in that, Ondo, tokenization of stocks, real estate, all of these assets that make them more liquid. It's there's a lot of flux. There's a lot of flux in the market right now.
Yeah.
And I cannot stress it enough that even if you're not going to invest, you better fucking educate yourself because it's fucking coming.
Yeah, I'm basically FOMOing to print as much tether as humanly possible right now.
I'm using DeFi.
Yeah, I mean,
Aerodrome,
DeFi's,
I started with 10 grand. I'm sitting at about 16, 17 grand right now, even with the dip.
Mhm.
In the past month and a half. So I like at one point I had doubled what I initially put in a month.
Mhm.
And on daily, I'm making between $100 to $300 in dry powder that I am deploying into things like DAG and other projects, Ondo, Arrow, things that I see as being the future of this technology. And I could be wrong, but honestly, it's better than sitting on fiat.
Yeah, I mean, I'm basically looking at all that. This is my portfolio, and I see a lot of pain and a lot of opportunity. Alien Base is a great base on Dex on base chain. It's a Dex on base chain rather, and I feel like backing the truck up on this thing.
I'm
I
actually going to pull
just
it
sold
up.
my bag of engine for some base ETH. I might pick up some of this.
Yeah, this is a very, very under the radar. It's $26 million market cap, DeFi platform on base. And it's one of the smaller plays that I have. But I mean, stacking a bunch of these, and you know what? If Pi could be real, that's a whole Bitcoin for me. So if I ever run into the software engineer that refuses to, why is this not ever going to go live, Nick? Like, did we just get bamboozled to the extreme on mining Pi network?
Probably.
That is so sad.
Sorry.
Those of you that don't know, Nick is like the SME, the subject matter expert on mining. I actually, Nick, I need to pick your brain. on mining because once I start taking profits, I want to dip into that.
Look at this one though, Morpho. This one has been the most impressive one in my
Hobus was talking
portfolio.
about Morpho.
I'm in a pair.
Are
I'm in
you?
a pair on Morpho. And Ulink, just real quick, Drew, because I know that you're bullish on Link.
Mhm.
I actually am in a Ulink wrapped ETH liquidity pair on Aerodrome,
Mhm.
and that fucking thing is rock solid in range. I mean, it's almost a flat line. And it's honestly the past couple of days with all this volatility, it's what's kept me making $100 a day. My wrapped ETH USDC pair, that is usually my racehorse,
Mhm.
has been failing me, but the Ulink wrapped ETH pair has been printing fucking money.
I absolutely love it, and I love seeing all the interoperability, like for those liquidity pairs being added to Aerodrome, and Morpho, it's nipping at Aerodrome's heels now, guys. This thing's at a $343 million market cap.
Base base is going to be a huge if you can get exposure to base,
Mhm.
almost you can almost throw a dart and hit something that's going to make you money.
It's a very interesting ecosystem, and really, I think that a lot of larger funds are going to trust Coinbase DeFi more than anything else because it's holding BlackRock's funds. It's just as simple as that. They think simply, and who's the biggest monster in the space, and then they're going to go put their money there. Morpho has been nuts. If you notice, it hasn't given honestly a fuck about these pullbacks. Like it's been proving that $2 is kind of like an ultimate buy point at this point in it. This is a very new project though. I got it for $1.20. I do kind of feel like this stabilization moment is signaling to me a little opportunity to buy it. It builds
Health on
rock
a
solid.
shelf.
Yeah.
It helped on a shelf. Drew, give us the Moon Boy math. Where is Morpho? Where's the possibilities? Where's Morpho gonna go?
Well, okay, so you have a billion Morpho total, and there's only 154 million circulating supply. So we need to dig into a few things on this. We need to dig into the analytics on essentially what the total amount of tokens will be. And I do believe about not 3/4, 1/3 of the supply is going to be out by June of 2025. So we'll be looking more
Hey,
so.
Drew, quick, Vet, I gotta go. So
Okay.
I'll catch you guys later. Keep up the great work. I appreciate you inviting me out. This was super fun.
It's good to see you, bro.
Definitely need to have you on again, Nick. We're gonna really
Yeah, man.
really love seeing you again.
Always, dude. Always. See you later, Drew. See you, Vet.
See you, brother. All right. So yeah, I mean, Morpho, it's gonna be we want to do some specific thoughts on this here. So I want to go to token unlocks, and I will go here, get this out of the way.
And those that didn't see it, it's sitting at 186 as
Yes.
far as overall market cap.
Yeah,
So it's
186.
out of it's out of the top 100, which means what would you call it? A mid cap?
Yeah, it's a mid cap play, and it's honestly a very, very new project. Something kind of crazy about it though is the amount of borrowing that's already been done on this thing. It's now at 5 billion. Remember, we did this we did the video including Morpho, I think it was
Yeah.
last week, and it was at 4 billion in deposits.
I'm actually on the platform right now. I'm showing 4.624. Like so 4,624,000,000, which is huge.
Yeah. If you should share that screen because this is on their homepage where it's showing this amount.
All right, yeah. Here, I'll share real quick, and then I want to kick it back to you. So yeah, right here.
So right
It's
around
showing total
4.6.
deposits 4.624, total borrow 1.7. Now, I want to play the devil's advocate just because I'm super bullish on this project. But the thing that I look at and what most people are going to look at, especially that are new to and wanting to maximize their earnings, is the net APY. So, looking at these percentages, you go to places like, Aerodrome, where some of them are like 9,000% APY and stuff like that. And we can get into the nuances of, how that's calculated and things like that, but we won't. I definitely want to tell people, make sure that you do your due diligence, because some platforms are a lot more honest, I'll say, about their APYs and APRs. Not to say that Aerodrome is not honest. I'm making huge gains on Aerodrome. However, make sure that you are, and you have a tracking sheet, and you're tracking whenever you're doing DeFi. Make sure that you're tracking your own earnings and your principal amount that you have invested and things like that. Track the fees. Keep an eye on the fees. Treat it like a business. Everything's a line item. Your operating costs, that's your fees. That's all the things that you're paying to make money. You want to make sure that you're tracking all these things, because otherwise, sometimes it can be a fine line between being profitable and going out of business and losing all your money.
100%.
But go ahead, Drew. I'm sorry.
No, it's totally good, man. Really, so we're at about, number 186. And I am of the opinion that this project has the velocity to break into the top 100
Okay.
in 2025. So it needs to keep the deposits going. It needs to keep the borrowing going, and base network needs to continue growing. But it has leapfrogged over Aerodrome pretty darn quickly here. So we're at 186 right now.
In what aspect?
In terms of just the velocity of inflows, not the size of market cap. Aerodrome is, let's see, where is Aero? I think it's about 500 mil.
So like over the past week or something like that, they've seen more inflows than Aerodrome.
Yes. So, and you'll see it is pretty well expressed on the chart. Even with the market downturns, this thing has continued stair stepping upwards. Aerodrome is sitting here at $1 billion market cap already, though. And, my opinion about Aerodrome, I do think that it has the potential to make near, in the range of $30 to $50 billion market cap a reality. Morpho, I feel like, is going to be it's going to capture a piece of the pie. And I actually could see this market cap hitting around $5 billion, $5 to $10 billion in terms of overall size. And when we go look at the tokenomics of this, we're going to have about 200.
So what? That would be 14-ish X?
Well, not necessarily. If you account for the tokenomics, you're going to have about 220 million circulating tokens by October of 25.
Keep me honest, Drew. Keep me honest.
Yeah, absolutely. So it'll be in October is when we kind of expect the peak to be in terms of the 4-year cycle of 25. At the time frame, Morpho is going to have 220 million tokens circulating. So if we run some back of the napkin math on that,
some bar napkin math.
Yeah. So we got 220 million tokens circulating. And this is very important to look at the actual tokenomics and the time frame of expected tokenomics, and then judge the velocity of the project. Like you see it, leapfrogging. It's at 186 right now. It's in a good ecosystem. You see the good inflows, on their, the metrics. You see these numbers ticking up week after week. That's great. Okay. So what are we going to do in terms of what would it look like if it broke into the top 100, if it keeps this up? So the bottom end expectation at around a $5 billion market cap, it would be just shy of a 10x or a $22 per unit price. And then if it does really capture some fireworks and get to the $10 billion mark, maybe number 90, maybe 80, 85 would be a little bit more than this, in my opinion, actually. But if, let's say, we get to $10 billion in market cap, that's where extreme fun. We're talking about hoping that it hits number 90 in terms of market. This is not hoping that it overtakes, the top 10.
Honestly, I don't feel it's a stretch, though. I mean, I honestly think that the only thing that has really held DeFi back, and those that are listening that don't understand what DeFi is, because I want to make sure that we're speaking to people that aren't crypto savvy. Think of yourself as the bank.
Mm-hmm.
All this money that you put in the bank, in the savings accounts, checking accounts, things like that. You're getting either nothing or you're getting like 0.01%, while the bank lends out your money. They're earning 7, 8, 9, 10%, potentially more depending on the interest rates on your money.
Mm-hmm.
DeFi gives you the opportunity to be the bank and earn that for yourself. So you can take that value and you can put it into DeFi with a little bit of education, and
Mm-hmm.
you can put that money in your pocket instead of the banks. And that's why they're so scared of this. And that's why that you keep hearing on the news and you keep hearing, all of this echo chamber. It's trying to scare you away from crypto, is because it, with regulation that's coming, especially with Trump coming into office, and you got, again, David coming in as the crypto and AI czar, and the regulation that potentially is coming, to where this is the new financial infrastructure.
Right.
DeFi, you have an opportunity and you need to seize it,
Yeah.
because this is how you decouple yourself and become financially independent, and get to where you are not a wage slave for the rest of your life.
And
And I'll get off my soapbox and kick it back to you, Joe.
no, I mean, you're saying some really important stuff. And what, I'm kind of just scrolling through the top 100 currently. So everyone can see on the screen, it's WorldCoin, say, even in the top 60. These are very familiar projects, right? These are very large projects that people are familiar with. But there is a air of caution to take your effing profits when they're there in the heat of this bull market, folks, because look at what the top 100 looked like at this same time in 2020. You go down here, Cosmos, a lot of these are, noticeable, but Ravane, nobody in this current market knows what Ravane is. At the time frame, Ravane was number 29. It had a market cap of nearly $1 billion at this time.
I've
Same
never
time
heard
frame.
of Ravane.
Absolutely. No, that's the point, is because it was number 29 and it fell off the face of the earth. And then we keep going a little bit further down here. Yearn Finance, this thing came
Okay,
off
I've heard of
the top
Yearn.
roads. This project hit $100,000 a unit. At this time frame, it was at 26. You don't hear much about it, but it is still around. Waves, no idea. Celsius, man, what an experience Celsius brought to the market here at number 40.
Yeah.
And then you keep going. It's crazy. You get a OMG Network, Ontology, UMA, Decred, some familiars here, but Ren BTC, Digibyte. Remember Digibyte? This is, oh my God. So the reason why I'm showing this is kind of twofold. It's because there are many of these projects that are in this current top 100 that will be whispers of the past. And these are projects that some people are all in on. So we have to keep this in mind when we think about the seasonality of the market. Okay, everyone is familiar with basically everything I'm flipping through here. And there are some people that are all in on ICP, all in on Aave, yada, yada, yada. And I feel like Aave is a very strong piece of DeFi. It's not going anywhere. Aptos, though, this is one where questions can be asked. The CEO is leaving, a little bit of shakiness, hasn't been performing to the degree of Sui, its sister company with similar kind of background. There's a lot of projects in here that we have to beg the question. Hyperliquid, very fast mover out of the gate. Is it sustainable? You have to ask yourselves these questions. But also, when we look at the time frames of the this is a historical snapshot for anyone that doesn't know how to do this. Very, very simple. I'll kind of show people how to do this, because this helps frame your mind on what to expect out of the top 20, etc. when things start to really get frothy. So we go here. Actually, I'll zoom out a little bit here so I can get the regular view. I'm a little zoomed in. So you go to cryptocurrencies, historical snapshots. And then you can go through all of the different years, all of the different time frames, and you want to basically select according to and this is the time frame. You get the understanding of the time frame from this. You have to understand 4-year cycle to figure out the time frame relevance. In relevance, we're essentially right here, and because a 4-year cycle is 3 months, 3 years and 11 months. It's not 4 years. So we're essentially like how things were in January of 2021.
And again, those of you that are watching that aren't in the the crypto ecosystem and day in and day out watching crypto, what Drew's talking about is patterns.
Mhm.
So anytime you look at these charts, these candle patterns, everything, especially with Bitcoin and in the way that crypto moves, almost everything is a pattern. And you'll hear this as you learn more about crypto. It doesn't repeat, but it often rhymes.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Drew.
No, absolutely. These are great things to highlight. And as you can see, things like let's just take a look at this. Is the one that I think about the most is Chainlink's performance. It was at this time in relevance to the 4-year cycle, it was up higher in terms of size of market cap at this time frame. It was number 8, and it was at a $9.3 billion market cap. This season, it has a lot more competition. It's actually number 11 or number 12, but Uniswap right here at $2.4 billion. And this went on to 10x from this current price point. And a lot of people thought, wow, what an incredible growth on the 7-day. We're up 44%. How can it keep going? This thing literally 10x from this time frame. Chainlink only went on to double from this time, essentially double its price point from this time frame. Chainlink is a little bit, it's a very heavily utility focused project, but I think seeing the regulatory framework kind of get rolled back and get opened up through Paul Atkins and the SEC chairs, this is what's giving XRP, Chainlink, Stellar, all these different heavy,
a lot of these dino coins.
Absolutely, they're dino coins, but there's something to be said for a dino coin that's been around for fucking ever, right? Because
dude, slow and steady.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not that I hate XRP. It's just the fact that the market cap is already at $123 billion. Like if this thing hits, a half of a $1 trillion market cap, that only gets me to a $7 or $8 price point from where it's currently at. That's a 4x, and that's quite a big squeeze to make. But it is incredible to look at this history past. Polkadot was in essence number 3 in terms of crypto projects. That's something to think about. Polkadot, the one that everyone's making fun of lately, was number 3 in terms of, and number 3 was only a $15 billion market cap. Now we fast forward to our current situation. Where is number 3 at? Number 3 is $123 billion. This is our current time frame. Number 3 is XRP, and it's $123 billion. Number 3 at the same time frame in relevance to the 4-year cycle was 15. We've 10x'd the velocity. But how much more can we go? Really, we look at where we are.
Well, really, to answer that question, it's how much liquidity that is injected into the crypto market. And with regulation, being done around the world that allows institutional money, governments, all of these people that were basically, because of legal framework, kept out of the market, is now allowing them to flood in. Honestly, sky's the limit. And then you start tokenizing.
Right.
If you start tokenizing bonds, gold, real estate, art, just anything and everything that has value, sky's the limit. Whenever, and those that don't understand, tokenizing a lot of the things that hold value now, even the traditional markets, it allows you to trade them 24/7, 365. It's not banker's hours. It's not Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. It doesn't take 5 to 10 days to clear. If you tokenize something, you can trade it 24/7, 365, and it's liquid enough that it's instant. If I want to buy the Mona Lisa, just because it's something that everyone can understand, if it was for sale and I had the money, I could buy it, and the finality could be instant, where it's like the person that's selling it says, does a smart contract that says I'm selling it for this amount. I say I have that. I'm willing to pay it. And the smart contract says as soon as I send those funds, it releases the ownership to me. And I send it, it executes. I now own the Mona Lisa. It could be midnight, 1 o'clock. It doesn't matter, time zones or anything.
Here's something interesting too. Have to highlight this. James Wallace from Ripple, the vice president of bank engagements, on the board of Securitize, right next to Paul Atkins.
Yeah.
Right next to Paul Atkins, who's coming in. He's going to be in charge, it looks like, of the SEC. And he's sharing a board with the VP of central bank engagements at Ripple. Also, World Economic Forum insiders, Fannie Mae board members. The Securitize.
I'm so glad I bought the Ripple pre-IPO.
Ripple, I've always said, I could never deny Ripple is a powerful company. And they're going to be around for a while. I wonder if we could find that information on the fly here. Let me see if I can just go here. FedNow Explorer.
I actually sold a bunch of my XRP, and I bought Arrow, Ondo, and I bought a bunch of the Ripple pre-IPO.
Did you?
Yep.
So this is the FedNow website. And, FedNow, it has some interesting insights to it. So really, I've been around this website quite a bit, but we're going into the showcase building. And let's see here, organizations A to Z. I want to turn this upside down. So Z to A. This is the one. Here it is.
Volante. Yep.
So this is within the tech tower of how they're doing business to business platform networking and banking as a service, all that stuff.
Yep.
And we go in here. This is for anyone that wants to find like the smoking gun on why, FedNow, how the hell FedNow is even involved with Ripple. This FedNow service from Volante actually utilizes Ripple's technology, not the XRP token, particularly it's the XRP tech. It's the Ripple.
But the XRP ledger.
Yes, it's the Ripple organization that Ripple runs that they're interested in. And it's right there, sneakily behind Visa and, Visa. So
Visa B2B.
This is kind of crazy to see, Securitize with these agents, Paul Atkins, James Wallace, all being put into place. And honestly, this gives these dinosaur utility tokens, Chainlink included, because we talk about, these systems and how they're being built. Look what they're having to be interoperable with, Swift, right?
Yep.
And it's not that Chainlink's the Swift part, Ripple, XRP's parent, it's sister baby.
But Chainlink is the interoperability piece, and that's why you're so bullish on Chainlink, is because you're looking at picks and shovels.
Right.
Ripple has an awesome service. The company itself, not necessarily XRP. XRP, could and does play a part, but if you really want to understand how value, where the real value is historically, if you look at things like the gold rush, the people that got rich weren't necessarily those that were out prospecting.
Right.
It was the people that were selling the picks and shovels. That's where you get that terminology of picks and shovels. And Chainlink, and that's why Drew is always talking about Chainlink, is the interoperability to where it connects all these different things like, the XRP ledger and Ethereum and, all these other chains. That is where the value is allowing value to be moved across chain.
Yeah. This is an unpopular opinion I have here.
Please.
If I didn't have enough, if I didn't have enough unpopular opinions, but Solana looks like a dude who got hammered during like before the game. It looks like a star player that got hammered before the bull market game and now has a hangover right now. Honestly, like this
But
thing,
performing.
this is the daily on it, and this is dating back to November. Basically, over the past month, it has been a very, very weak chart. Very weak
Well,
chart.
and I'm not bullish on Solana, but being my own devil's advocate, look at that level.
Yeah, it's very important. It's a very historical level. You got 3 points of confluence.
Exactly. I mean, it looks to be historically a level of resistance,
Mhm.
potentially a level of support.
And it's at a proving ground right now. And it does look like the bleeding has slowed. You see these stop gaps and a little bit of curvature to that.
Mhm.
So what we are hopeful to see, maybe you'll see a jackknife down on a bad candle here or there. But what we're hoping to see on Solana is a little bit of a health on a shelf built right here, because
It needs to consolidate.
it does need to consolidate. And it had all of its fun during accumulation market. I mean, it moved from $9 to $260 already. You know, I mean, that's an insane move. Now you have the degens that got in at this floor raking in their profits. And in my opinion, that's why we see a lot of the flows to the utility tokens, is because of the regulatory clarity now that that's been opened up.
Yep.
I think I just killed myself.
That's all right.
Yeah. No, I'm still here. It's just somehow
Now
exit.
go ahead and bring it back. No, you're saying you're saying some awesome shit, because it's all stuff that I sit here, when I'm sitting here freaking 8+ hours a day, doing my research, because I honestly really do see crypto as being the largest opportunity for me to multiply the value that I have stored to do things like more real estate. 'Cause I mean, I own a portion of real estate already,
Mhm,
but to really buy real estate,
mhm.
to really diversify into other assets, I see crypto as the fastest ROI. And what you were just showing with Solana. I actually bought in on Solana. I think it was around $30
Mhm.
at the bottom, and I sold all of it. I'm wanting to say it was around 200,
Nice. Very nice.
and I put it into other things just because I didn't want to try to time the top, and I saw way too much profit, and in my mind I was like, throw it across multiple assets, just like I do with DeFi. Is some of them are going to go up, some of them are going to go down. It's going to to mitigate my risk.
Mhm.
So it will help lock in those profits by diversifying. Just like with real estate. Real estate for the most part is always, going to treat you well. Especially if it's a rental property, something that has a monthly income. It's why I love real estate so much.
Mhm.
But you're back up. I'll kick it back to you.
No, I mean, your thoughts are exactly mine. My wife brought up the idea of getting a vending machine, which, kind of an
Mhm.
interesting thought. But, in relevance to what I was just showing on Solana's chart is the Bitcoin dominance graph. And really, man, like, I've shown some new metrics tonight. We printed the weekly candle that is deep red. So honest, I'm acknowledging that this is a new kind of paradigm that I'm having to deal with, but this generally does look the same on the Bitcoin dominance getting ready to roll over. It's having this little fake out moment. And if you zoom in on it, it's got a pretty strong top of the wick here, pretty strong top of the wick head. This, but it also is printed a green dot, and you have a very strong momentum wave coming to the upside, a green dot printing. Bitcoin might be surprising us this week. I'm not gonna lie. Like this, I expect historically for it to pull back a little bit, but look at this. I mean, there's no denying that the money flow is coming up on it. And, if I were a betting man, it's probably going to get back up into this range for a point, and even more buying opportunities. Like it's crazy to say, but I want cheaper altcoins in this time frame. And the reason why is twofold, not only because of the cycle movements and how generally the 4-year cycle moves, but also because we have regulatory clarity. We have, leaders of the SEC that are actually pro crypto, and that is going to make things like these dinosaur coins, and likely I will see Solana getting near $1,000 this cycle. Dogecoin has the Department of Government Efficiency as the moniker. This thing, I'm not going to be surprised to see it hit $1. Cardano, not going to be surprised to see this hit $5, and at 87 cents, that's a pretty good upside. Tron is one of the largest cryptos on the planet. We don't use it here in the US very much. Like how Solana is in the US is how Tron is in Asia. So this one we can't ignore either. Avalanche, Chainlink. I mean, there is a lot of competition here at the top. I really think that we're setting up for a situation of what I've been calling a miracle market, where this market cap, I'm of the opinion that we are going to see this market cap reach levels of between 12 to 15 trillion dollars this cycle. So that being said, I feel Bitcoin is still going to have a third of the market share, and Bitcoin's probably going to come in at around a $4 to $5 trillion market cap, which would bring it to the $250,000 level. And if we're thinking historically on where things are right now, and a lot of people are kind of getting my thoughts of what I was going to talk about on my show tonight, but you get the kind of inner thoughts of me here, is looking at this market. Where are we in terms of the time frame? We are cutting back down into the blue range. How much more upside was left in the market before the peak came if we just performed to the midpoint of this? And keep in mind, we didn't have ETFs. We didn't have nation state FOMO. We didn't have any of the awesome things that we have today. So historically, we're able to perform by about 137% to the upside on Bitcoin. And